Welcome back to another episode of The Greatest Attorney Resolved to our... We last left off, we were in the middle of picking an answer for something about fingering a man. So now we're gonna finger him. The man in question is Mr. Herlock Drebber. The previous witness? Special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tussauds Museum of Waxwork. Recreates a decade-old scene in great detail. The condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and besides the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. He had a shovel and everything. And that young man is a 10-year younger Mr. Herlock Drebber. Her little outfit is cute. Outfits that witches typically have are cute. Order! 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 Surely not, counsel. Drebber was there, at Lowgate Cemetery.
What is all this talk about, Mr. Drebber? Is the name significant?
Of course, Madame Tussauds doesn't know, does she? Yes, it's extremely significant, Madame. To your situation as well, in fact.
What situation?
The theft of the professor's waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man.
No! But that would mean...
Madame Tussauds, it would appear you know the name, Herlock Drebber. You'd have to, right? Because you had to get his life. You had to get his cooperation to do the figure of the man who, the waxwork of the guy who witnessed the thing, right? Probably.
Yes, I know it. But from long ago, in the past.
What?
Oh my!
Oh, gracious! Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Spill the beans. Oh.
The story of the young man and the terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. That is, apart from in one newspaper.
Oh, the newspaper that she has, yeah.
The Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I've already shown in court.
You're saying that his full name was only publicized in this article? It is me. Yes, here it is. The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Herlock Drebber, a disciple of science at the University of London, and a resident of its students' dorms. Unbelievable!
When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. His discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in a cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was the truth or not.
I see. So you went to meet Mr. Drebber in order to sculpt the waxwork of the man, did you?
Exactamente. He was studying science at the University of London in those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been in my museum to recreate the scene of terror from the cemetery.
So, 10 years ago, a young man appealed to the public about an extraordinary event he'd witnessed. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today. even though the waxwork's build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? Which brings us to the 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. If the birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Asman, but that same waxwork, the coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated Dr. Sith would have noticed immediately. And yet, she submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor. Is that what you're saying? Oh my god, my toe almost cramped and I thought I was about to die. Whoa! I gotta stop fiddling with my toes. Dr. Sith put her name into the document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who was still alive. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. But that misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as the body double. I completely did not follow anything that they were saying just now. I mean, I know the gist of what's going on, but that stuff that they were just saying, I literally didn't understand what they were saying. My lord, this court must summon Dr. Sith to the stand. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Drebber are connected. But according to the missive I received this morning through the prosecutor's office, Dr. Sith is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case? Fuck Strongheart! Fuck that man in his time!
She told us so herself, didn't she?
I'm a bitch, I can do whatever I want.
Lord Van Zieks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it.
Lord Strongheart?
The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it from me.
Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. And surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Van Zieks. Lord Van Zieks, let's do it, man. Let's break the rules. Fuck Lord Strongheart. Let's fucking go. The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped. Let's fucking go! But Lord Van Zieks, the message was issued from the Lord Chief Justice's office. The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. Yeah! Yeah! Let Enoch Grubber and Dr. Sith both take the stand together. Let's fucking go! Order! 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 Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send a subpoena with immediate effect, addressed to Dr. Sith of the Forensic Investigation Team. The woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders. Alright then, Enoch Drebber and Dr. Sith. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could never have been committed. I'm just a stone's throw away. I can feel it. The truth behind all of this is about to come out. There they are. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. I didn't understand what I was looking at. Thank you for your attendance at such short notice, Dr. Sith.
I am disappointed in you, Lord Van Zieks. You've completely betrayed the agreed policy of both Scotland Yard and the prosecutor's office.
Betrayal is not in my nature, as long as the truth isn't compromised.
Yeah.
If it is, if there's even a hint of wrongdoing, then no matter whom it concerns or disgruntled, I will pursue the matter to the bitter end, as would any prosecutor worth his salt. Yeah, you're worth his salt! Mr. Drebber, you took the victim's life by means of a machine that you constructed in your workshop. Oh my god, what did I do for him? And Dr. Sith, as the investigating coroner, you were the first on the scene to examine the victim's body. It is the belief of the defense that you collaborated with each what? I think I'm tired. That you collaborated with each other and were both complicit in this crime.
And where's your evidence?
At present, we have no definitive evidence, but we do have a very significant clue. What are you talking about? I'm talking, of course, about the waxwork. This model of the killer known as a professor, who was sentenced to death 10 years ago. You don't need to tell me. I witnessed the man's execution with my own eyes, and officially pronounced him dead. That remains to be seen. Is that so? According to newspaper reports from the time, on the night following his execution, the killer came back to life. Don't waste my time. And the sole witness to that mysterious event was you, Mr. Drebber, wasn't it? My eyes are super fucking tired all of a sudden. Okay, we are back from my break. I didn't have a crisis with my goldfish crackers.
I can't fucking open it. I can't open it. It's one of those milk carton things that like you have to fucking, I don't care that the screen went dim. Look at this. I can't open it. I can't open it. And how do you fucking seal this afterwards? That doesn't make any sense. Next time I'm never buying this stupid carton again. I don't know how to open it.
I got some tea, so hopefully that will be suffice. I don't have any Red Bull, and that makes me sad. We're just power through. Did I read this? It doesn't matter. Did I give him any specific voice? I know I probably would have put an effect on his voice, but I can't remember if I actually made him sound. If what you saw in the graveyard that night 10 years ago wasn't some chilling fiction, but reality, it would make you privy to a very great secret of Dr. Sith's. A secret so profound, it could compel the coroner to agree to collaborate to your evil scheme, in fact. Mr. Drebber, tell the court. Tell everyone the truth of what you saw that night in Lowgate Cemetery. So he was the student who saw it.
You can see the resemblance actually, can't you, with the man in Madame Tussauds, I mean.
Surely he's not going to claim that's really what he saw, especially not after all these years.
He was a research student at the University of London, wasn't he? Oh, a bit too clever for his own good, if you ask me.
What he gonna do?
What an interesting twist. When at the time, not one person would take me seriously. Yet now here we are, 10 years later, and suddenly my story matters, and in a court of law too. Very well then, if everyone so wishes. Let's be frank.
Hi Frank, I'm Frank too.
I'll tell you the truth of what happened that night, for what it's worth.
I don't know if we can trust him. I'm worried that he's gonna fib. So Mr. Drebber, your testimony please, about the events of that night 10 years ago. You will tell the court exactly what you stumbled across in Lowgate Cemetery.
Yes, of course, as you wish.
I don't trust this man. I don't trust him at all.
The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery all those 10 years ago was for a spot of moonlighting, shall we say. Yes, the illustration in that newspaper article was based on what I witnessed that night. But thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor. Soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me from wax. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist, and it was all because of that newspaper article.
So he was lying because you don't go check out the moon with a camera and also a shovel. You can't bury the moon. Wait a minute! You're claiming you didn't actually see the professor now!
Of course, you would have to have a screw loose if you believe a corpse could come back from the dead.
But, so you're saying this article is...
Not worth the paper it's printed on? I think that would describe it perfectly, yes.
If the details in that article aren't true, It nullifies your argument for why Mr. Trevor and Dr. Sith would have been working together.
So he's discrediting himself to cripple my argument. So tell me, witness. You claim to have been in the cemetery on some auxiliary business. Can you elaborate?
What fancy words, auxiliary business, what the fuck?
That's right. Grave robbing to be precise.
A what? A what? What was that moonlighting thing you said?
As you know, Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. So among students at the university, it had the reputation for being haunted by the ghosts of condemned convicts.
Grave robbing, you say?
Yes, exhuming fresh corpse to sell is reasonably lucrative. Of course, I never laid a finger on any valuables buried with the dead.
So you were one of those so-called resurrectionists, a particularly unpleasant ground on society. Scourge, I mean, whatever.
Actually, my fellows and I went by another name, the Repurposers.
That's a bad name. That was quite beyond the pale. You were invited to divine retribution, sir.
Yes, well, I think I suffered retribution enough. The Daily Circus eventually unearthed my name and put it in print. It caused me a great many headaches. In the end, I had to leave the university. That was the only paper with the bad grace to identify me unambiguously, I might add.
I see. Out of interest, who drew the illustration for this article?
Ah yes, that was the reporter who exposed me. He sketched that right in front of me as I described the scene.
What? So Asman was a reporter?
Obviously, as time ticked on, I bitterly regretted what I'd done. Claiming to have seen something I never truly saw. Foolish. Very foolish.
What? So Asman is a reporter and also an investor and also a bitch? Well, counsel for the defense. You may proceed to the cross-examination now. At once, my lord. What does that mean, though? The reason I was in Lowgate Cemetery all those years ago was for a spot of moonlighting. Oh, is moonlighting grave robbing? Just another term for it? I thought he was literally saying he was looking at the moon. By moonlighting, you mean grave robbing, don't you? What? Why do you call it moonlighting?
Surely you only need to look at the graveyard scene and my appearance to gauge the answer to that.
But you had a photograph. I mean, not a photograph, fucking, you had a camera. The lantern and spade. But who on earth would want to buy a dead body? Any major hospital. Hospital? In order to better understand the human body, the study of anatomy is crucial to medical science. But there isn't a hospital in the world that has enough specimens to work with. Though obviously they can't openly express an interest in obtaining more dubious means.
As aspiring scientists, we young research students had no money to work with, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we made serendipitous arrangements with the hospital via some of our medical student acquaintances. We would never take anything of value from the graves. This was all for the furtherance of science, you see.
Looks like he's about ready to like tickle Sid's like chin with his hand.
That's what we told ourselves every time we stole into the graveyard that night, spade in hand.
You realize body snatching is a serious crime. If you were caught, you could expect the grievous of consequences. But you didn't, did he?
We students were caught between the hammer and the anvil. We needed funds for research.
Professor Harebrained said exactly the same. I'm quite speechless at the apparent levity with which you revealed this abhorrent behavior. Well, if you wanted to know why I was there at the Lowgate Cemetery, that's the reason. But I never expected it to end the way it did. That, I regret to this day. The illustration in this article was based on what I witnessed that night. The strange happening at Lowgate Cemetery, which you now deny.
I was very nearly arrested myself. I was very nearly arrested myself. I was very nearly arrested myself.
So you went to the papers instead.
Millimeters black up the tail. Story was 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 millimeters black up the tail. Story was
Story was in every single paper at the time, with the exception of some broadsheets.
And yet, only 2 or 3 of them actually interviewed me personally. Most of the accounts turned out to be very interpretive ghost stories.
What about the article in the Daily Circus?
That particular journalist found me at my dormitory. I don't know how, but he discovered my name. So I recounted to him exactly what had happened that night.
And from your description, he drew this illustration.
Precisely. That's how I learned that the condemned man was the infamous professor. Because the reporter told me so. I had no idea myself, you see.
Newspaper reporters are wont to snoop around in matters that don't concern them. So the scene portrayed in the illustration is accurate, then?
Well,
Thinking back now, I realized that I never actually saw the professor at all. What are you talking about?
I think I explained already, didn't I? Lowgate Cemetery is at the rear of Barclay Prison. So it was renowned among students at the university for being haunted by the ghost of condemned convicts. These movements are exhausting me. For some absurd reason, I was scared of the graveyard at night. And as a result, only too willing to believe that nonsense about the dead coming back to life.
But you said you actually saw it!
I said what I'd seen in my mind's eye. After all, resurrection is impossible, isn't it? You'd have to be unhinged to think otherwise. Unless, of course, you have some evidence that proves I encountered the professor that night.
I don't know. Is there any material evidence that could show he really did see the professor?
If we have anything at all, Mr. Naruhodo.
I know. I need to present it against that irritatingly backtracking statement of his.
The point is, that night was a pivotal moment in my life.
I don't know if I have. But soon afterwards, I was visited by a young woman who sculpted a model of me for this. I wanted to talk about the fact that that journalist is asthma. That young woman being Madame Dispels, of course.
Precisely. I must say, I didn't expect to run into her again.
After, like, what?
I didn't expect to run into her again like this 10 years later.
As I've explained, I went by the name published in the article and, Kommissar, I found the man.
Or however you say that, I'm sorry. Yes, the article in the Daily Circus, I think you said.
I was a poor student with barely a penny to my name at the time. And the young lady put £5 in front of me.
So you readily consented to having a waxwork of you yourself made, and gave permission for it to be put on display.
I did. I should sell what little I had to sell, I concluded.
Ah, oui. I remember now. I purchased something else from you that day. Ne sais pas, whatever.
The camera! The camera! Le camera! Oh, wait!
Did you? I can't say I remember.
Wait. I feel like I remember we investigated the camera and we, like, noticed something. When the lens extended, dark staining is visible on the bellows. But there was also something about, like, how the film wasn't in there or something. What? Was it? I think? Oh, look, the cover came open. Yeah, now there should be glass plate. You have to change the plate with each photograph you want to take. Right, this is the camera. This is the camera. The glass plate is not in there, so either did she take it out? Does she have the photo? What was it, madame?
His camera.
Oh yes, I made a point of taking it with me whenever I made an excursion into any cemetery.
You took a camera with you, sir. To what end?
To record the details of the body I disinterred. But but I had no intention of ever visiting a graveyard again after that night. So I sold it.
I see.
But I still have it, monsieur. It's part of the special exhibit in my house of horrors. I am very meticulous about such details. It is the Despair's way. It would seem, then, that this is the very camera Mr. Drebber took with him to locate cemetery on the night in question.
Yes. Interesting. Wait. Then I gave up on my dream of becoming a scientist. I don't care about that. I don't give two shits about that. Where's that? What's the statement where he was like, oh, you don't have proof of whatever? Is it this? I don't know if this would work. Camera. Nope. Can I present the whole like thing about the signature? Will that work? I doubt it, but no. Maybe I will press this last thing. I doubt it'll change anything though. This article you mean, published in the Daily Circus.
Yes, somebody informed the dean that it was my name that appeared in the article. And carelessly let slip that night after night. I was digging up graves. Hardly a model student, you might say. The university's reputation was execrably whatever word defiled, and I was expelled as a result.
Good for you.
Mon Dieu, I had no idea.
Having been run out of university, you found employment in a somewhat specialist trade. I don't know, going from a fucking scientist to an engineer is pretty impressive. You combined your knowledge of science with knowledge of stage magic to create various experimental machines intended to demonstrate never-before-seen technology. And you used those deceptive machines to trick the government and private investors into giving you money. Well, not an engineer, I guess. A magician. A scientific magician. Professor Albert Harebrained was just your latest victim, wasn't he?
Whatever are you talking about? I have no recollection of doing anything of the sort.
What's Drebber up to? Why would he suddenly change his tune and recant his claim?
I wonder if perhaps it's because his circumstances have changed now.
What circumstances?
Well, if he admits to having seen the professor emerging alive from his grave 10 years ago, it'll expose a secret in Dr. Sid's past that she would desperately want to hide.
Yes, of course. If Drebber and Dr. Sith are working together now, then if Drebber were to betray her, there would be no reason for her to continue to cooperate. In that case, there's only one way around it. I'll have to prove he really did see it. Prove he really did see the professor's corpse coming back from the dead as he originally claimed.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, exactly!
How do I do it, though? I don't know the answer to this. No. I'm about to get a game over, but that's okay, because we've already gotten game overs multiple times at this point. I don't know the answer to this. What's a contradiction that shows that you did meet the professor? I already did this before, what if I tried again? It didn't work! Dang it! There's like two things I want to there's like two things to consider. The fact that the journalist who drew that sketch is Asmin, and the camera is missing the glass plate, meaning that a picture was taken. But they don't want to call mention to that for some reason, especially the picture. Huh? What? I did something. What did I just presented the newspaper article to him not seeing the. Sorry, Mr. Drebber, but I don't believe that.
Don't believe what?
What's the contradiction here? Your latest claim. You did see the professor on that night, 10 years ago.
Oh dear, we seem to be at odds. But I was there, and you were not. I know what I did see.
The illustration with this article was drawn based upon what you told the journalist that you witnessed. I like that how no one's noticed the fucking signature on this goddamn picture. A figure emerging from the tomb, wearing an iron mask. Oh, is it the fact that the detail shows an iron mask and you wouldn't have known it unless you saw it? Yes, when the killer was tried 10 years ago. It was decided in the closed court's ruling that the man would wear the mask to hide his identity. Or is it the fact that his jaw was not masked? I don't know. It wasn't to be removed even during his execution and subsequent burial. Not even the prison wardens were to see the man's face. But obviously, the provisions of this mask was not public knowledge. Yeah, there you go, okay. So Mr. Drebber, as you've just heard, a lowly student at the University of London certainly wouldn't have known about the condemned man's mask. So unless you actually seen the professor that night, it's inconceivable that the artist would have included the mask in that illustration.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Order! Order! Well, Mr. Drebber.
It's a vile scene, isn't it? If you look closely. And as I've already been at pains to point out, I was utterly petrified. Which is why I had it in my head that I'd seen such a blood-curdling sight. But afterwards, I came to my senses, and realized that I'd been mistaken.
You're still saying you didn't see it? If you're stubbornly sticking to that story, witness, then amend your testimony to explain exactly how you think your eyes deceived you.
Of course. Only too happy to oblige.
I can't believe he's still not going to concede the point. But I, in fact, witness was a fellow grave robber at work. Huh? What? A fellow grave robber? What are you talking about?
Well, I wasn't the only one busy in the cemetery that night, you know. Other body snatchers were at work. Of course, when I saw one emerging from the hole he dug, my heart very nearly stopped. So that's the terrifying sight I actually saw, you see.
You're claiming he was just another student on equally insalubrious business as yourself.
Many of the medical students would wear metal masks to protect them from bacteria during dissections.
Sure.
Clearly the fellow was using such a mask to protect his anonymity, wouldn't you say?
That's bullshit. But there's more to the story, isn't there? The article goes on to say, in the next second, a gunshot rang out suddenly from behind. The bullet pierced the resurrected man's chest, whose breath then stilled once more. I might assume that the sexton discovered the miscreant at work, perhaps, and fired upon one of them. What's a sexton? Its grave digging had shot someone in the cemetery. I think it might have been a rather big news, my lord. Oh, yes, well...
I can only assume it was an embellishment bolted on later by the reporter.
Are? What's up? What is up, my dude? Madame Dispels. Don't take it out on Mr. Sholmes. It's fine, he looks the same.
Oh la la, pardon. I was lost in my thoughts.
Would it be fair to say that Mr. Drebber's last remarks was significant to you in some way? What's up, my dude?
I thought it was a little strange, that is all. How Monsieur Drebber could claim this now.
If you don't mind me saying, madame, what are you talking about?
Well, when I met you 10 years ago at your university dormitory, you recounted to me about your adventures in the cemetery, no? Including the gunshot.
Stop!
Oh dear.
You might want to watch your tongue, you know.
She ain't need to do shit. She ain't cooperating with you. Have a care, Drebber. That's no way to speak to a lady. Hell yeah, he's what we call a gentleman. Please, Madame Dispels, carry on.
Of course. According to what Monsieur Drebber told me at the time, he did hear a gunshot from behind him, and the bullet hit the condemned man.
I said nothing of the sort.
No, you were very explicit about the details. About the mask that the figure was wearing. And the blood that splattered over you when he was shot.
Enough! Shut up, woman! You're making all this up.
Also, given the distance, I'm very shocked that the blood would have sprayed that far if he got shot. Isn't that quite a distance? I don't know. I've never been shot before, so I don't know how far blood travels. That will do. Mr. Drebber.
Yes.
You refer to the account just given by Madame Dispels?
I have no recollection of ever saying those things.
Come on! Do you really expect us to believe you? Control yourself, counsel. I will not permit baseless accusations in my courtroom. Right. It's okay. It's okay, Naruhodo. Under the circumstances, I think it's best you supplement your testimony with a statement to clarify your position on this witness.
Very well.
There's no gunshot from behind me at all. No. Okay, so I think the answer to this is obviously going to be the camera, right? It wasn't the camera. Or I think it should be the camera. There's blood on the camera. Come the fuck on. Maybe I need to press it. Maybe I should press it first. I got ahead of myself. What do you want to say about this? Yet Madame Dispels has testified that you told her about both of those details.
Not true. I said nothing of the sort.
10 years have passed. Without material evidence to the contrary, you have no grounds on which to question the witness's words. Tell me, Madame Dispels.
Oui?
What exactly did Mr. Drebber say about the blood that apparently splattered on him? Spattered on him, whatever.
Alors, this is what he told me. All of a sudden, he heard a very loud gunshot from behind his back. The bullet hit the figure who was emerging from the tomb in the middle of the chest, in his heart.
One dreadful sight after another.
And since Monsieur Drebber was at the time facing towards the condemned man, the blood sprayed from the wound and spattered on his body. That is what he told me.
So, not an experience you would ever forget, is it?
Precisely. And I didn't forget it. Because, as I've already said, it never happened in the first place.
He's clearly lying. If only I had some evidence to prove it. I do!
We can't let him win, Mr. Naruhodo. So we mustn't overlook a single detail, no matter how small. But I
presented the camera and it didn't work. What, do I have to look at it again? Open up. Look at it again. How is this not the answer? Why is that not the answer? Why'd that no be the answer? Is it the article again? No? What the fuck? What the fuck is the answer to this? What percent the camera again? Still didn't work! Why? I don't... Okay. I guess... I don't... was that a glitch or did I really just have to... I went through the statement of when Dispel said that she bought the camera from Drebber after that incident. Right? And then... It showed that it updated. The details of the camera have been updated to court record. But I already examined that before. Rather, I pressed that statement before, and it would have updated it before. I have to look back on the VOD to see what it said before I had did this, because Right after I pressed that statement, and then I came back to that stupid no blood spattering statement and presented the camera, then it worked? Why didn't it work before? Am I crazy? Damn it. Whatever, fuck. Whatever, we're making progress now. Mr. Drebber, do you remember this camera?
But that is the camera from that fateful night.
Yes, we borrowed it from the House of Horrors. It's the camera you took with you to the cemetery that night, Mr. Drebber.
And is that supposed to be significant?
This kind of camera is rarely seen in our homeland, so my colleagues and I were keen to examine it closely. We noticed that the lens extends forward at the end of some bellows. Like this. Who said that? Oh, what's that? There, just on the bellows. It looks like a dark red stain. That's right. It's a rather conspicuous mark here on the bellows, in fact. Lord, Lord! Are you suggesting? Yes, my lord. It would appear to be a spatter of blood.
Something that could be confirmed with a simple chemical test. Isn't that right, Dr. Sith?
What? I was sleeping.
It would be difficult to determine if it was human blood and not the blood of some animal. But yes, to test whether or not it's blood at all is simple enough.
I propose that Madame Tespel's testimony was correct, and that on the night in question 10 years ago, you were spattered with blood from the gunshot wound.
Well,
And that furthermore, you really did witness the condemned professor emerging from his tomb. Well, this seems like a good place to stop, I guess. I hate doing this. Next session, I'm not doing this fucking bullshit of fucking announcing when I'm gonna stop. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll be back with more of this because I ain't going anywhere. Time to go pee and get more goldfish crackers. Okay, bye!